In this video, I'm going to be ranking all 35 games from Stage 2 of the NAL 2021 season. There are 35 games because there are 9 play days. Each of them has 4 games, except for the last one only had 3 games because Beast Coast forfeited to SSG. So 9 times 4 gets you 36, and then take off 1, 35. So I just have the games here, and this isn't the actual rankings, but I'll get to it in just a second. This is the information that'll be on the next sheet, along with which playday each one has because they'll be out of order. And most of this information is not terribly important, like side start, attack ban, defense ban. Most of this stuff doesn't play into how good the game was, really. Casters, not so much either. I'm mostly, I mean, the casters, I guess, can affect the hype, but I'm mostly going off what happened in the game, the hype of the game itself, all this stuff. Map and scoreline, though, are very important. So let's just move on to the other sheet. These are some of the factors, I guess most of the important factors I'm basing things on. If games had really good storylines, they go up. If the score line was really tight, you know, like 8-7 is probably going to be more interesting than just like a 7-3. Upset value, how good the gameplay was, if there were any comebacks or streaks, if there were any really good moments or big like performances from players, if there were really high stakes in the game and the expectations of the game. And then map rarity and non-repetition. So like Dark Zero had a ton of overtime games, so they sort of degrade in excitement as you go along because you've already seen so many Dark Zero overtime games in a row. And then map rarity. Consulate was played a ton, and like Coastline and Clubhouse weren't played that much, so they get a few more points if they were played on rarer maps. So we're going to start off Sonics versus XSET on Playday 3. XSET and Beast Coast both lost just a ton of games by like pretty wide margins. This is the Consulate game, which is the most common map, and Sonics played it more than anybody, and XSET lost. It's just whatever. It's just a game. Something has to be the worst. Every game has something to offer. They're all like sort of exciting in their own ways, but I just had to pick a bottom one. And then the next game we have Sonics versus Beast Coast, another Sonics game, and that's not like a pattern. I just sort of had to throw some at the bottom. Same thing though. It's on Consulate. Beast Coast lost by quite a lot. It's just sort of in the middle of the season. It's whatever. And then Beast Coast versus Disrupt Gaming. Chalet, I think, was probably the second most common map. So there's that. It's just in the middle of the season. The stakes weren't terribly high at the time. Not much else to say. Moving on, we have Space Station versus Oxygen. This is maybe sort of an interesting game. Maybe it could be a little bit higher, but as you get 7-1 scoreline, Oxygen just got destroyed. It's another Chalet game, middle of the season. SSG at this point were already dominating. It wasn't terribly surprising. They'd already beat down what, like Disrupt and Mirage maybe, and somebody else. They had lost to Dark Zero, but besides that, they were just destroying at this point. But these were 2 of the former top 4 NA team. You know, SSG, Oxygen, Dark Zero, and TSM. But it's whatever. It's just here at the bottom. And then the last one in the bottom group, so I guess this is number 31, Oxygen versus XSET. It's just another XSET game where they get pummeled in the middle of the season. This is on Oregon, which is a little bit more exciting because it was a little bit rare. Oregon, when it first came out, was so popular, so played. It was just kind of annoying, but nothing too special there. Just another game. And now we have number 30, I guess, Disrupt versus XSET. And it's the same kind of thing. As you can see, this one was closer than all the other games I have, so it boosted a little bit. Villa is a little bit rarer. And yeah, I think based on where I ranked things, Disrupt is like pretty low, I guess, in the exciting teams to watch, but I thought their gameplay was pretty exciting. Their team dynamics and gameplay and whatever. I thought they were one of the more interesting teams to watch, and that could be a whole ranking of its own, like who was more interesting to watch and whatnot. And I guess Dark Zero would be really high because of all their overtime. I thought Disrupt was high. Mirage, I think, based on if we're going empirically on the numbers from this, Mirage might be actually the highest. And I don't know who's lowest, Beast Coast or XSET. And then the rest kind of in the... SSG might be like the 3rd lowest because they just had so many destructions that it kind of got old. And also Sonics had a lot of repetition on Coastline, so a lot of Oxygen, another exciting... Anyways, whatever. Moving on. Next one. Disrupt versus TSM. I think this was the first game of the season. We got to see Chalet, which we hadn't seen a ton of at this point. And TSM just kind of beat Disrupt pretty handily, 7-3. I guess if you're talking about score lines, I think I'm going to do a scoreline video pretty soon, just on the numbers behind it. But like I guess 7-0, 7-1, 7-2 were like destruction, 7-3. and 7-4 sort of in the middle. Like you pretty handily won the game, and then 7-5 and the overtime score lines are pretty close. So not too much to say there. So we've had just Consulate, Chalet. We got an Oregon and a Villa. So we'll move on. Xset versus TSM on Cafe. Now this game had a little bit of a storyline going into it. At the time, I think Xset had got their first win. Or were they? I think they won twice in a row. I think they beat Mirage before this, and they beat Beast Coast before that. So they were on a 2-win streak, and I think TSM was on a 2-loss streak. Or maybe it was just a 1-loss streak. I'm not sure. But they definitely lost to SSG in one of the 2 plays before this, and maybe... Oh, and I think they also lost to Mirage. So Xset beat Mirage, and TSM lost to Mirage. TSM was on a 2-lose streak. Xset was on a 2-win streak. But still, as you could see, it was the first Cafe game I have on this list, but TSM still pretty handily beat Xset. And moving on. SSG versus Mirage. This was the first 7-1 I think SSG got, right? The Oxygen... Wait a minute. Oh, yeah. So 7-1. And then the next week here, the SSG versus Oxygen, another 7-1. The week before this, they had a 7-2. And then I think the week after the Oxygen, they had another 7-2. They went like 28-6 in 4 games, which is crazy. But it was just another like complete beatdown on Cafe. Clubhouse used to be SSG's map. It might be Cafe, or it could be Chalet, I guess. I think they played both multiple times and won like every time. They lost the 1 Villa to Dark Zero, and I think they only played Consulate was the other. I don't think they played Clubhouse or Coastline or the other map that I'm not gonna sit here trying to or Oregon. So I guess they played 4 maps. And they have a 100% win rate this stage on 3 of them, and a 0% win rate on the other one. I think they only played Villa the one time. Moving on, Disrupt versus SSG, just another shrug. This is I guess where SSG's streak started, because the week before this they lost to Dark Zero. The week before that though they did beat Sonics, but now they started their like really dominant win streak of like every game after this. They got in the buys somewhere in the middle of this, but they got 7-2, 7-1, 7-1, 7-2, 7-2 again, maybe, and maybe the buy, and then the 7-2, and then a 7-0, and then an effective 7-0 with the forfeit. But just it's another Chalet game. It's another SSG dominant game. Nothing terrible, nothing too much to see here. I think probably like the top 15 or 20 games are the really exciting ones, and everything below that is not as exciting. Oxygen versus SQ. I had this game a lot higher because I thought this was actually the game where Rexon went insane, but that was the SQ Mirage game. So Oxygen versus SQ, like there's kind of a storyline going into this. These teams like sort of beef. They weren't a big fan of each other, but the gameplay wasn't that interesting. It just sort of was SQ beat down Oxygen. I think Grixer and Rexon both did really well. I think Rexon like 12-4 and Grixer 8-4 or something. And everyone on Oxygen got decimated except for Foxay, I think, had a really good performance, if I remember right. But moving on, and I think Chalet games are just like pretty exciting. It's probably that and Coastline are just, if you're looking for gunfights, the more exciting one to watch. And Coastline is just like terribly played out and pretty annoying map. But Xset versus Dark Zero, this is another decent storyline. What game? I guess game. Xset beat Dark Zero last stage. That was Xset's only win last stage. So, you know, maybe they could repeat that, but they did not. But it's another Consulate game. It's another Xset loss. This is Dark Zero's only non-overtime win of the season, though. It came in the last day, and this completely locked in Dark Zero for the major, so it did have good stakes, had a little bit of storyline, but overall the gameplay wasn't, fantastic from both ends. Dark Zero, I guess, was probably good, but Xset not as good. SQ versus SSG. This was well, I was pretty torn on this game. These are my 2 favorite NA teams, and they were playing on the first day. SSG won. It was, it's an SSG win. It's an SQ Consulate game. Whatever. It was early on though, so we didn't know what was going to happen. This is the first time we got to see SSG's new roster really in action, and SSG got 7th place last stage, and Sonics got 2nd. But it looks like after this, you could say that SSG looks much better, or maybe SQ looks worse because 7th place team beat the 2nd place team. But of course, in this stage, SSG gets 1st and SQ gets 3rd. Moving on, Beast Coast versus Dark Zero. It's the first Dark Zero overtime game we have on here. The first of 6, I think. And of course they win them all. This is one that only went 14 rounds instead of 15 rounds. It's, maybe it's a little bit exciting because Beast Coast was really bad and they took Dark Zero to overtime, but it's not that surprising because Dark Zero always went to overtime except for one game before this. And I think it was a little bit of a streak. I think Beast Coast won several like 2 or 3 in a row to push overtime. Or maybe I guess I get to check. Or maybe it was Dark Zero. Most of the Dark Zero games, one of the two teams had to win a couple rounds to take it to overtime. So it looks like it was, Beast Coast had to win 3 in a row to push overtime, and then Dark Zero just won the 2 rounds and won in overtime. Next up, we have, which one did I just do? Yeah, so we have TSM versus Beast Coast. This is a 7-0. So, I mean, like, this is a really good team beating down a really bad team. But it was exciting to see a 7-0. It had been a while. It's only the second play day. And so Beast Coast at the time, it was unsure if they were really bad because in their first game, they went to overtime against Auction. I don't remember if it's 15 or 14 rounds. We'll see when we get there. But so we weren't sure. Right, TSM won their game pretty handily, but Beast Coast went almost all the way versus the previous stage's #1 team, Oxygen. So it looked like maybe Beast Coast had improved, but clearly they hadn't. They got absolutely smoked. Maybe the scoreline probably wouldn't have been as decisive if Beast Coast got to start on defense, but TSM took all 6 defenses and then Beast Coast just lost their first defense, so the game ended. So again, it'd probably be 7, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 or something if Beast Coast got to defend first, but that's not what happened. It was the first 7-0. There's 2 more 7-0s this season, and I thought they were more exciting games, but yeah, this is just the first one, and in hindsight, it makes just a lot of sense. This was the last place team versus second place team. But we didn't know it at the time. Dark Zero versus Sonics. This isn't just in the middle of the season. This is already Dark Zero's 4th. It's 3rd or 4th. I don't remember when they had their bye. So 3rd or 4th overtime game. It, again, didn't go to the 15 rounds. So it loses a little bit of excitement. It's another consulate game. The storyline's pretty good going into this because as organizations, Dark Zero had like an insane win streak against Sonics, like 8 win streak or something. And it looked like Sonics was gonna break it here. Like it looked like they were gonna win the game. I guess let's check this one as well. Was it a comeback? I think it was a comeback by Dark Zero, wasn't it? Yeah. No, it was just really back and forth, and then they ended up taking it. Sonics did hit match point first, though, so Dark Zero was the one that had to push it to overtime. But yeah, yet again, a lot of just repeat occurrences here. But the storyline's pretty good. So Dark Zero still retain their insane win streak against Sonics. Of course, both teams are really different. Like, it's only Super that has been on Sonics for a while, and Dark Zero only has, Hyper and Eclipse on the playing roster for most of the streak, if not all the streak. I don't know when it started. Next, we have Sonics versus TSM. This game largely was going to decide who was going to be second place. Both these teams were exactly tied on all their wins. So wins, losses, overtime wins, losses. I think they were both 4 wins, 1 loss, 1 overtime loss. But TSM had like +4 higher differential or something. So whoever won this would have had the tiebreak against the other and a 3-point lead. So I guess they were secure. Yeah, since this was on day 8, this secured whichever team won higher place than the other one. So this game caused TSM to be second at the end of the season and SQ to be third. It is a pretty good game, 7-4. Got to see some Villa action. Not bad. SQ came out of the gates crazy. They did really well in the first round, and then I think they lost the next 5. So TSM took a 5-1 defending half, and then, they took a few more rounds, but still edged out by TSM. TSM were definitely the better team here. Reflected in the standings, reflected in the game. Decent game. Moving on. Mirage versus Beast Coast. This actually, it's a 7-2, and I guess this is the 7th team versus the 9th team in hindsight. But the reason I liked this game was because Beast Coast actually looked pretty good. Right, so in the first game, they were close to beating Oxygen, who was previously the first place team. They got crushed by TSM. So it looked maybe TSM was just leagues better than everyone else. If that was the case, then the 7-0 can make sense. So coming into this game, they almost beat what looked like a good team. Auction at the end of the season, turns out they were much weaker than stage 1. They ended up at 6th. But if Beast Coast could have won this game, it could have been big. And they had, I think there were 3 rounds where it looked like they were going to win, and they just made a few mistakes, and Mirage took it. So at one point it could have been a 5-4 scoreline, and then so Beast Coast would have just needed 2 more to win, and Mirage would have needed 3 more to win. But in the end, it didn't look close, but a lot of those rounds were pretty close. It was kind of fun to watch because you got to see the fumbles. It's, you know, it's not like, it doesn't make you feel especially proud, but sometimes it's funny to watch teams kind of mess up a little bit. So I bumped up the ranking. Like, overall, the quality of the game isn't technically that high, but I thought it was interesting for these reasons. TSM versus Oxygen. This game largely didn't matter. This could bump Oxygen up to 6th out of 7th and bump Mirage down to 7th, and that is what happened because Oxygen won. This game, really, it didn't matter for TSM. Like, they were guaranteed 2nd place at this point, so no reason to show anything that they might pull out at the major. But despite that, Oxygen did look a lot better than they looked in the stage here. This looks promising for the future. To beat the 2nd place team so handily is cool, but again, we don't know how many punches TSM was pulling. But so it was kind of exciting. It was good to see Oxygen get another win, TSM get another loss. Good to see a little bit of Oregon, because as you can see, we've had just 2 other games I've covered so far. Not that much. Mirage versus Disrupt Gaming. This game, oh man, this game it's not, most of it's not actually that good. It was solid play by Disrupt. They were just beating Mirage repeatedly. But man, Dream had 2 insane clutches in this game. It was round like 3 and 4 or 4 and 5 or something. That in the first clutch, man, that was crazy when he like gets a kill, and then I think they're playing lobby piano bomb site lobby press. I think he gets a kill, or he kills the planter right after he finishes planting, and then he jumps out the window, kills another guy, and then he gasses his way over the bomb and diffuses because Shuttle can't see him in the smoke, and it was crazy. And then he gets another clutch the next round. Just for those clutches, I bumped it up quite a bit. But besides that, not like the best game. And now we are moving into the top 15. So number 15 here, and now these are all the games that I like quite a bit. And I guess the cutoff for like the games I really like is right here, like this one and above. I was a big fan of. So moving on, we have SSG versus XSET. Playdate 8. And, you know, really, probably this game should be lower, but it was just a marvel to watch. Like, SSG's play on Cafe is phenomenal. They destroyed XSET, like, absolute domination. And this happened, of course, in the game down here, the TSM versus Beast Coast. But man, I thought this one was so beautiful to watch. There was only one round it looked like XSET was going to win, and then Rampion thinking, I think it was Rampion thinking they just clutched it out with insane gameplay. Mostly Rampy thinking they ended up getting the last kill, but it was Rampy that delayed the plant multiple times. The Ying gameplay, just the repeated excellence of hot and cold. This was just it was just a great game to watch. I was a big fan. Next up is TSM versus Dark Zero on Playday 3. So Dark Zero had gone to overtime twice already versus Mirage and then versus SSG. And now they get humbled. This is the other 7-0. This is the second 7-0 and the second one that TSM did. And the first one versus Beast Coast, you know, it's Beast Coast. They looked pretty poor last stage. And Dark Zero doesn't do incredibly last stage, but they're coming in off 2 wins into this game. And just to 7-0 a team like Dark Zero, it's just a big, like, I think Bolo and Pojo Man both went like nuclear this game. The amount of Nitro Cell kills that Pojo Man got was crazy. And it was just really impressive to see, you know, a really good team beat down another really good team. But of course, our Dark Zero trying to find its footing with its new players. But still, good game. It was fun to watch. Unless you're a Dark Zero fan, then it was probably unfun to watch. Maybe you still liked it. I don't know. SQ versus Mirage. A little bit of storyline coming into this one. They played, I think it was the last game, or it was these 2 teams, the last game of last stage. I don't know if it was the very last one. But Mirage ended up taking it, and by them taking it, Mirage, I think, bumped themselves up to third place, and SQ got bumped. They would have been first place if they'd won. But instead, they got second place, so they lost some major points. They lost some cash money, and they lost it to their foes, Oxygen. And also Rexon, maybe I should even have this game higher, I don't know, but Rexon went insane in this game. I think Hot and Cold put up that, like, was it 17-4 just last week on this map, and then Rexon one-ups them. He gets an 18-4 on the same map the very next week. Absolutely insane. Very good game, fun game to watch. Dark Zero versus Disrupt Gaming, yet another Dark, and you can see there's even another one up here. This is the first I've had on the list that went all 15 rounds, and this was a really fun one to watch. Maybe I'm discrediting this game a little bit. Maybe I should have it higher. Really exciting. I think this is the game where NJR plays Finka every round on attack, which was kind of cool to see. A lot of plant attempts, a lot of like kind of jukes. I think Disrupt probably got tricked by the same thing more times than they should have on that aviator bomb site, but very excited. Yeah, now I'm looking at, maybe I should have it higher, but there's a lot of good games above it, and it loses a few points because this is already Dark Zero's third overtime game in 4 weeks, and they win it, but you know, 15 rounds this time, so that's cool. Now we have another one. This is probably a less exciting game overall. It's another consulate, which we saw a ton of, but it was in the first play day. We didn't know Dark Zero was gonna have all these overtime games, and also Mirage versus DZ, because of these are Hot and Cold's two former teams that are in the NAL. And I think Dark Zero took it last, and I think it was early on in the season. I think it was maybe it was first play day, but it was in the first few play days. I think they played on Coastline, and I think they went to overtime as well. So a little bit of an interesting storyline. It wasn't repetitive yet, the consulate thing, the overtime thing, any of that. Just good game. And I think this was another, I mean, I guess I'll check. I think it was another comeback, wasn't it? Didn't one of the teams have to like win a few in a row? Yeah, Mirage, and this is another reason I had it higher. Mirage had to win 3 in a row to push it to overtime, 3 attacks in a row. And then, of course, Dark Zero took it, but still, they did get overtime. They did get their point. Now we have the top 10, all right? SSG versus TSM for number 10. This game could have been number 1. It was hyped up like it was supposed to be number 1. It was the top 2 teams at the time, and both had looked insane, except for their one faltering. They both... TSM lost, I think just the week before, they lost to Mirage? Is that... I guess I haven't gone to the game yet. It's higher up. But they had lost to them, and SSG lost to Dark Zero, and they were both in overtime. And SSG just slapped them, like 7-2. Pretty big beatdown. But this was the game where Hot and Cold went absolutely insane with that 17-4 before Rexon did it the next week. But still, the first place team just dismantling the second place team. It was excited to watch. It was very hyped up. And if TSM maybe got 2 or 3 more rounds, this would probably be top 5, top 2, top 1 maybe. But I still think it deserves top 10 slot. So that's number 10. Number 9, Auction versus Beast Coast. This went all 15 rounds. It was on Coastline, which we didn't see much. Have I even covered a Coastline game yet? I don't think. Yeah, so this is one of the only Coast, or is it the only one? I don't know. I don't want to spoil, so we'll see if we get another one. Or did I miss? Yeah, no, I don't think I've covered one. It went all 15 rounds. This last stage, Beast Coast got 8th place, and Auction got 1st place, and Beast Coast took them all the way to overtime. And God, I hate having to look back so many times, but I think, wasn't this also a comeback by somebody? Am I wrong? It was, yeah, Beast Coast won 3 in a row to push it overtime, and then they won the first overtime round. Like, they won all 4 of these rounds. And then they lost the next 2 to lose the game. That's a heartbreaker, but you know, they put up a good show, I guess. It was a fun game. I liked it quite a bit. First play day. This was before we had overtime been ended, but this is one of the, like, there weren't actually that many overtime games if you discount all the Dark Zero ones. If you look back on all these, I think Auction went a couple times, and not many other teams went to overtime. I don't think SSG ever went to overtime except for against Dark Zero. Same thing with TSM. Maybe same thing with Sonics. No, they had the, I don't know, you can just look and see if you're curious. It might have, yeah, that might have been it. Anyways, good game, exciting game. Nearly unexpected result, but in the end, this is actually, 6th place versus 9th place, so not that far apart. Not as far as they were last stage. Dark Zero versus SSG. This is SSG's only loss, and this is an insanely swingy game. SSG took the first 3 rounds of the game. They were looking like it was going to be just an SSG beatdown of Dark Zero. And then Dark Zero took 6 in a row. And let me double check to make sure I'm not getting this backwards, right? Isn't that how it went? Yeah, SSG wins 3. And then Dark Zero wins 6 in a row. Insane. And then SSG wins 3 in a row. And then Dark Zero wins 2 in a row. Maybe, I don't know. It's maybe a little bit more exciting if SSG win the game, and definitely more exciting if it goes all 15 rounds. But very crazy. It was like the third overtime game of the season or something. It saw 2 of the old Big Four teams. Yeah, just and the streakiness, I think, really brings it up. It was a very intense game. Man, the back and forth was crazy. Mirage versus Oxygen at 7th place. This is all right. So we have a clubhouse here. I think this is one of the only 2 clubhouses. So 2 of the top 7s are going to be clubhouse. Day 2, and again, this was another streaky one. I think it was just fun to watch. At the end of the season, these ended up being Mirage was 7th place and Oxygen 6th place, and I guess the closeness, they were throughout the season. Yeah, they might not have known it at the time, but they were pretty competitive for those 2 slots. And I guess let's it's another streaky one. So let me show you guys what happened here. Yeah, so Mirage only won 2 defense rounds, and then Mirage won 5 attacking rounds. This was heavily attacker favored clubhouse, and they won 2, and they won 3 they won all these attacks. Like Oxygen only won the 1 defense, and I guess Mirage only won 2 defenses, but still they played 12 rounds and only 3 attacks won. That's very crazy. But for that reason, that it's unexpected. Only 2 clubhouse for the season. This was very attacker-sided. It was very close. Very exciting game. Liked it quite a bit. Now we have Beast Coast versus X. I mean, this could probably be like the worst game of the season because it was decidedly the 2 worst teams going into. But man, it went all 15 rounds. There were so many mess ups. It was just really fun to watch. It birthed the why are you sprinting bio thing and the kicks with like the absolute furious expression on his face. This game was it's another consulate game. It's another 2 bad teams going into each other. But God, this game is so fun to watch. Because the gameplay wasn't good, I just couldn't put it in the top 5. But it was, man, was this one fun to watch. Next we have Dark Zero versus Oxygen. There's the other clubhouse game, and they went all the rounds, all 15 rounds. I don't know. I don't have much else to say, but it was on a rare map, and the gameplay was really intense. Like there were quite a few clutches. I think it was the first round when Laxing got that clutch where he just downs the planter, with 0 seconds on the clock. He's just laying down at black box and just shotguns the dude like 2 or 3 times from far away, and it downs him. And also I think this was the one where Laxing where he knifes dude. I don't remember who it was. Somebody planted on default on CC. And they get in the gunfight, and he knifes him, and then it cuts to the player cam, and he just like gives this big grin to the other team. It's super funny. But sadly, Dark Zero wins again in overtime. Again, this is their last overtime win. It went 15 rounds. It was exciting on Clubhouse. Fun to watch. This could maybe even be higher if it wasn't for the fact that this is yet another Dark Zero overtime. I think that's the only detractor. Next, we have Xset versus Mirage. This is, again, very swingy. These teams were very close at the end in the standings. Xset got 8th place. Mirage ended up getting 7th place. And also, this being one of Xset's only wins, boosted up a little bit, and their only win in overtime, and their only win against not Beast Coast. So Xset actually only beat the 2 teams next week, the 7th and 9th place teams. But very swingy, and I don't think I need to flip to it because it's the first 2. Oh, okay, maybe I do need it. I think it's the first 2 rounds go to Xset. The next, and then Mirage calls a timeout, and then Mirage into the next 5 rounds, and then Xset calls a timeout, and then they win the next 5 rounds to win it 7-5. Like, it doesn't get much streakier than that. Of course, you could win like some 6 rounds in a row or something, but insane for the timeout 5 rounds thing. Cafe was kind of fun to watch this season. It was a little bit rarer, but it was probably like the 3rd or 4th most played map, but still, didn't see as much as Chalet or Consulate. You did see it a lot more than Coastline and Clubhouse. What are the other 2? Villa, Oregon. I don't know what the order for those 3 are. They're in the middle somewhere. Yeah, so exciting game, streaky game. XChat gets a dub, whatever. Moving on. TSM versus Mirage, Playday 5. This is the third highest game I have. TSM versus Mirage. This is TSM's first loss. This is one of their 3 losses. I guess they lose to what? Mirage, Oxygen, and SSG. So they actually lost to 2 pretty low down teams on the standings. Not the bottom 2, but the next bottom 2, the 7th and 6th place teams. It was a coastline. It was actually absolute shootout, and I don't exactly recall. So let's look at the progression of rounds. Where is this one? So yeah, TSM better on the, as you expect, 4-2 half on TSM's attacking half, but then Mirage ended up doing the same. I guess yeah, it was just back and forth in the last 4 rounds. Win, 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 win. And then Mirage actually just ended up winning. Or 1 defense, 1 attack. So yeah, just I mean, on the merit of being one of TSM few losses, their first loss, it going to overtime, it being on coastline, just all these factors together gave a pretty exciting game. I think Mirage also, I like their gameplay a decent bit. They were kind of one of the more exciting ones to watch. Especially because people thought they were going to be absolute dog dick without Hot and Cold. And I guess you could say, because they did drop from 3rd place to 7th place, which is pretty bad. But just 1 or 2 games going a little bit differently, and they could have got several places higher. I mean, they after Playday 7, before Playday 8, they were still in contention for the major even, but it did not go their way. And you'll see the top 2 here. But Disrupt versus Sonics. This maybe should be number 1. If it had gone to overtime or even just 7-5, I think I would have put it at number 1. But I put it at number 2. This was the highest stake game of the season because it was both teams were still in contention for the major. Just it didn't matter in overtime, didn't matter the scoreline, anything. Whoever won this game went to the major. The loser did not go to the major, and both teams like played their hearts out. But Sonics, they did better. They won the game. The casting is exciting. That last second Rexon clutch, he's in like a 1v3 and he just kills the planter from above. They just failed to clear him out, or I don't remember how he got there. Maybe he returned to there. But yeah, just Intero going insane on the casting. Very fun game to watch. Highest stakes game of the season. Very good. But the game, the game I enjoyed most, the game I put at number 1 was Oxygen versus Disrupt on Cafe. And I guess we can actually just check really quick. What were the standings at the time? So at the end of Playday 6, these were the 6th and 7th place teams. So whoever won this, they would have leapfrogged. So Oxygen would have gone above Disrupt, but you really wanted to win this game to give yourself decent odds of going to the major. And Disrupt already had better odds because they were 2 points higher. But Disrupt ended up winning this game, and this set up for that last game. If Disrupt hadn't won, if they hadn't won this game, the stakes would have been different. And actually, if they'd won in regulation instead of overtime, the stakes could have been even a little bit different. But by them winning in overtime, it set up that perfect last play day. But just the gameplay was insane here. I think Auction planted on all of their attacking rounds except for that, all on their attacking half, and then in overtime, I'm not actually positive. Let me check it out. What happened? Did they plant? They did plant. They planted every attacking round, and it was just back and forth action. There were clutches, there were retakes, there were plants, there were kills. If you watched on the channel that video of Kicks and Nintero just going back and forth about like whatever for like a minute or 2, that was from this game. And I think just on the merit of just the game itself, I put it at number 1. It was one of the few non-Dark Zero overtime games. It had decent stakes to it, and yeah, all the things I said earlier. Just exciting game. So that's my list. That's 35 all the way up to 1. I think some of these could be switched around. Like I said, some could be higher or lower. Like maybe Dark Zero or Disrupt versus SQ deserves to be first. Like maybe XSET Mirage doesn't deserve to be up here. Maybe this deserves to be higher because it's very similar in a way to this game. Like they both went 15 rounds down to the wire on not the super common maps. But yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, if you have like any strong opinions, like maybe I should have given more credit to some of these games, but some of them I don't remember that well because I mean, I don't know, SQ versus XSET, like SS or I don't know, just all the XSET and Beast Coast games weren't the most thrilling because they were just getting beat down most of the time. But there you have it. If you have your own list, let me know. If you have any, like I said before, any strong opinions, let me know. If I made any mistakes or errors, let me know. That's going to do it.